All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at a video that was just released on the Idaho 4 case. And a forensic analyst, ex forensic analyst guy or whatever, has given his opinion on it.
About so many times, it can tell pieces of the story that other evidence can't. When you're looking at these injuries, these horrific injuries, what is it telling you that we didn't know before? What part of the story is it telling you? What answers is it providing you?
Well, we always expected some level of, certainly, of brutality. We've heard that in the wind, as they say, over and over and over again. We've had people that will say, you wouldn't believe what it looked like in there, the condition of the bodies. But here we have it in black and white, Jesse. And even by my standard, some of it is quite shocking. But yeah, this would be, and I know this is rote, but I have to say, this is a classic example of overkill, Jesse. And the fact that one individual facilitated this makes it even more striking, because just simply the volume of injuries that we're talking about and how they're spread out over multiple regions of the bodies.
It's unfathomable that one person could do this to four people, stab this many times, the amount of force and exertion to do that, and how disgusting it is. When you look at Maddie and Kaylee, there are so many injuries to the scalp, the face, the neck. All the injuries that all four victims sustained are horrific. But does it make you believe that they might have been the focus, that they might have been the target? And for example, Xana, 67 times. The reason you see that number is because she fought back. I mean, does it give you an idea of what happened here?
Yeah, let's don't forget that there are stab wounds, or there's a mixture of incised, which are slices, as well as stab wounds, punctures to other regions of the body. Okay, but the primary concentration on both of these young women is going to be head and facial. To me personally, whenever I see that, that's an attempt on the perpetrator's part to disfigure and rip, trying to rip to shred. Let's face it, they're beautiful. If somebody is admiring them from afar, I want to have you, or have one of these targets in particular. I want to have you. No one else will have you. You have, shunned me in some way or shut me out. This is utter destruction, Jesse. You're talking about somebody that went in here with a sharp-edged weapon, and I'm talking about a very robust weapon, and did this level of damage to their faces. I have had cases similar to this, but not this many deaths in this one location. Again, going back to this theme of one person doing this.
Whenever we see anything like this, we talk about, oh, this is a sign of how personal it was, hatred, animosity, and again, we'll never know what.
All right, I'm still going to say, there's the sheath. If he would have kept that sheath on his belt, how it was designed to be, he wouldn't be in the predicament he's in probably right now. It probably would have took a lot more time to catch him, but they didn't catch the guy that did the murders a year before or 6 months before that. Not even an hour away from this murder scene, Idaho 4. So would we be here today if he would have had that sheep on his belt like it was supposed to be? And I'm saying probably not. We might have caught him by now, but chances are probably not. I don't know.
Was in his mind. There was talk from one of the experts that was potentially going to be called in this case, that there might be evidence to suggest that Kaylee and Maddie's bodies were posed after they were killed. Do you think there's anything to support that?
Well, I think that one of the subjects, and I can't remember, forgive me, the name is escaping me which one, but a head had been moved off of a pillow and then onto essentially the surface of another body, and that would be glaringly obvious.
I think it was Kaylee onto Maddie, but yeah.
Right. So Kaylee onto Maddie, and Kaylee's head, according to this expert, was actually resting on the pillow. And I can get into all of the technicalities here. And just very briefly, the way you try to understand that, hair in particular that is super saturated with blood, if you think about a dirty mop string, and this is the way we kind of describe it to our students, it leaves behind almost this kind of spaghetti pattern behind it. You would have lifted the head off of that and then placed it onto another surface. And that's indicative of the movement that they're talking about. I can only imagine, again, I have not seen this, but I can only imagine.
All right, so they're talking about staging. Maddie's and Kaylee were in the same bed. Maddie's bed came off of the pillow and was placed on. No, but you don't know. We know this much. They all were sleeping except for 3 of the girls or 2 of the girls. Maddie and Kaylee were sleeping. Ethan was sleeping. And there was one other girl that was up, Xana. And would she be alive today if she didn't see him, if she didn't hear the commotion upstairs? And like they're saying, she went upstairs and seen him. Excuse me. Would she be alive today? Probably. I think he went upstairs, did what he had to do. And if he wasn't seen, he probably was going to leave. Right? I mean, we don't know. I imagine he went after Xana because she's seen him. So if she didn't see him, if she didn't go upstairs to check stuff out, if she didn't see the sliding glass door open, if she, would she still be alive? I don't know. I mean, we don't know how deep this goes. Was his madness towards 2 people and that was it? And he got seen on the way out of there or whatever, and he had to get rid of the other ones? I don't know. He leaves 2 behind. That's pretty crazy. That seen him? That could identify him? I don't know. No, they keep saying this is a sexually thing, but I don't see anything sexual in it. Anger. I see anger, but I don't see nothing sexual in it. No signs of sexuality or anything like that, fantasizing with the bodies. No, there's no evidence of that.
That's the conclusion this individual drew. Now, there's also an indication that the bodies, plural, had been covered with a comforter. Mm-hmm. And again, we don't know if faces were concealed. There's a thing that we call in death investigation called face covering, where if you have recognition of somebody, it's a way to, kind of block them out so you don't have to look, right. Because as humans, we identify with one another this way, which is an interesting insight into the interior of this home.
As we're processing now what they went through, and again, it's kind of unimaginable to think about it, I have to just turn the attention to something else. As we're learning about this many stab wounds, a big case in the news right now, it's coming back, is the Ellen Greenberg case. And the reason we're thinking about it is she was stabbed more than 20 times in the head, the back, other parts of her body. There was always a question of whether or not this was a homicide or suicide. People would look at these injuries and say, how is it anything but a homicide? After looking at everything now in this case, how should we be thinking about the Greenberg case? Do you see comparisons?
Yeah, I do. I've always held that Ellen's case in particular, which I've been involved covering for a number of years, I've always felt like that was a frenzied attack, simply because of the biomechanical implausibility of her particular case, where you've got an individual that is alleged, if you follow this suicide narrative, alleged to be able to take this weapon and draw it over her shoulder, bending not just at the shoulder but also the elbow, and facilitating these injuries. And granted, some of them are in fact superficial, but I've had superficial injuries like this in homicide with multiple stab wounds. So that's nothing new under the sun, as they say. So yeah, I think that in one sense there are parallels here.
And does it make you believe that this idea of self-harm just doesn't make sense?
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
No, because I've just never seen this many self-inflicted injuries on a subject, and there's no indication, at least in my mind, and things I've heard, particularly.
How are you going to stab yourself 50 times in the back? I don't. How could that be, self-inflicted? I don't know. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. I can maybe see in the front, but after stabbing yourself, 10, 20 times, whatever, 50 times in the chest and in the back, cutting your head and everything. Yeah, I probably would say that's not self-inflicted. What is going on with the world? It's just gone completely nuts, Lord. I'm under demonic attack myself right now, Lord. But this world has gone crazy. Completely crazy.
Speaking with the Greenbergs, that she was in a psychotic state where she was completely manic, rather, I think is a more appropriate way to describe that, because it is virtually maniacal, that someone would do this as a frenzied attack, Jess.
I just want to go back to something you mentioned before, how this happened. We'll never really understand what happened in that house. But to think this one guy was able to stab all these four individuals so many times, fighting back Xana, stabbing her 67 times. Mm-hmm. It takes a tremendous amount of exertion to do this. I'm still having trouble processing how he was able to do this, right?
Well, I'm trying to figure it out too, dudes. I can see him going upstairs, killing the two girls. They're sleeping upstairs. He kills the two girls. But then Xana sees him and says there's someone in the house screaming. How does Ethan sleep through all this? How does Ethan sleep through all this? He kills Xana's up walking around, right? She's walking around in her own blood after she gets, stabbed. How is Ethan not up? How come he's found in the bed right where he laid when he was sleeping, they're saying? So how could he go upstairs and do that, then come downstairs, chase Xana into her room? Ethan don't hear none of this. Don't get up to do anything. I don't know. From what they're saying, he had two bad cuts on the back of his legs, which some are saying his Achilles tendons were cut. Well, how does this go down? I'm not sure. How does he not hear that? Now, the only thing I can think of is, like they're saying, maybe the murders happened differently, but the bodies were staged to look like they were in bed. Because if you listen to the witnesses that are alive, Kaylee was downstairs with the dog playing with them, and then she said she was going to bed, And then the next thing you know, Xana's saying there's someone in the house. It's not adding up. The kill zone ain't adding up the way they're saying, the witnesses that are left alive are saying. It's hard to picture. Well, they're all hanging out. Kaylee says she's going to bed. She takes her dog, goes upstairs, and then the next thing they hear from Xana is somebody's in the house, and they hear a commotion. So I don't know how that happens. I don't know. Now the thump we heard in the neighbor's video camera next door of the screaming, and then you hear a thump. That might have been a 6'2" or guy, Ethan, hitting the ground. Maybe he did get up out of bed. I don't know. Maybe his muscles were cut in the back of his leg. As soon as he tried to stand up, he dropped. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe. We have no idea. We weren't there. You can only go by the evidence. You can only go by the blood trail. That would tell which one died first. Who did he kill first? Very crazy.
How he was able to attack in this way. And obviously, certain victims had no idea this was coming out. And then you had Xana, who was fighting back. Just talk to me about what this tells you about the timeline of this.
Okay, so this is kind of how I've worked it out in my mind to a certain degree. I believe that this was sexually motivated. I think that, and you don't have to have a rape or an actual assault to have a sexually motivated event. Okay, and when we talk about that, it can be jealousy driven, this sort of thing. And plus, many psychologists hold that knives are very phallic. All right, I'll just be very blunt about that. If you're going to choose to kill somebody over and over and over again, stabbing, that sort of thing, draw your own conclusions on that. So initially, this case started out with the two young women upstairs, perhaps thinking the perpetrator thought that this was a single event. He's got an adrenaline dump going on relative to being fired up sexually to attack in that environment or perhaps do other harm. But when he walks in and there are two people occupying that space, it goes from that initial adrenaline dump and that kind of sexual motivation to an individual that is now being driven by probably anger and fear. Now, after this has been perpetrated, he goes downstairs and poor Xana. She's alerted to this and she makes contact with him perhaps on the staircase. Again, another adrenaline dump. Now you've got fear because she perhaps is blocking his ability to exfil out of this place and he's been seen. Okay. So now this descends into a level of savagery, Jesse, with Xana that I don't think that either you or I initially imagined. Right. Because if you think there were a lot of stab wounds upstairs with the two young women we come to Xana at this point in time, and she is just riddled with 60 plus insults all over her body, Jesse.
And Joseph, about Ethan, there's not enough talk about Ethan. What happened to him?
Well, out of all of the injuries that were sustained in this home, he had the fewest. But Jesse, we have to understand that Ethan actually sustained stab wounds to his chest. He's got stab wounds not just in his neck where his jugular vein has been compromised, but also his subclave, which is this major artery that goes beneath the clavicle here. It's a major blood supply. So this was clipped. His chest has filled up with blood. He's also, and the most bizarre thing I think about Ethan is that Jesse, he's got these odd incised wounds and stab wounds. Incised means cut to his lower extremities. And I've never been able to make sense out of that. I don't understand that. And I don't know that all of the explaining in the world could make sense of it. And that might remain a mystery, but that's kind of the outlier here. You know, why would his lower extremities, his legs, essentially be attacked? Super bizarre.
And let me just say that.
Yeah, pretty freaky. But what is this guy saying? Now, I've watched videos before where they said his legs were attacked, meaning one guy said, well, they cut his Achilles tendons. Now, that makes sense. If you know anything about warfare or how to demobilize somebody, you cut Achilles tendon, it wraps up in the back of your calf, and you're in serious pain. You can't do nothing. You can't walk. You can't do nothing. It's very bad, very painful. So who went first? Did he go in there? Did he do that in case, to make sure Ethan was not going to be a problem? Even if he did get up, he was going to have such a hard time standing up that he would be useless. I don't know. Does it make sense? It makes sense to me from what and so does what this guy's saying. It might be sexually. I don't know. You know, everything I see don't have anything to do with sex. It has everything to do with hate, anger, or just making sure the job got done. You know, how many times can you stab somebody within a minute? Within 1 minute? You know, you have the upper hand because you got the knife. Right? So you come up on somebody and you're just jabbing anywhere. You're hitting bone. That's severe nerve pain. You're hitting, yeah. And you know, from what they're saying, everyone was sleeping except for Xana. So what do I believe? I believe these girls were sleeping, but they woke up real fast. And pain will do that. Pain will make you jump out of a bed, and not just a internal, like a gallbladder burst in a pancreas or a appendix or whatever. This is severe pain to you instantly. Boom. And you'll jump completely right out of your bed. And I know I did, man. It was painful. It woke me up out of a dead sleep, man. I mean, just right out of the bed. Just as, and pain will do that. I believe they were sleeping. But then if he didn't do a death kill right away, and then the rest of the stabbing was just him being a sicko, he would have had to done something severe. And that, as this gentleman is saying, cutting the jugular vein, instant bleed out. You know, they'll wake up, but then it'll be bleed out. You know, him stabbing. And even if any of these people were sleeping and got cut or stabbed, they're gonna wake up. They're gonna wake up and from a cold, dark sleep. You know, my opinion. And the only way to get away from that is he would have to walk up real quietly and cut their throats first. Excuse my language. Or graphic talking. But he would have to immobilize them where within minutes, seconds, they were already bleeding out, and the rest of the stabbing was just sick stuff he did in anger. They were already dead before he went into 60 times of stabbing them or whatever. Well, maybe Xana wasn't. You know, she fought back, but she was awake. The rest of them didn't have any defense marks. Maybe one, I think. But just one, you know, when you're, I don't know, it's pretty crazy. One man doing this, could one guy do all this and that? Yeah. It don't take a lot. Especially when you're holding a 12-inch K-bar or 8-inch K-bar. And you're a 6-foot dude. So, yeah, I imagine it was horrifying. Horrifying. But for nobody to wake up and scream, "What are you doing? You're killing me. Oh my God." He had to mobilize their abilities to even scream right off the bat. And I do agree with this guy. To uh, if Xana didn't see him, would he have been? Would that have been it? He would have been on his way. No, there's a good chance, yeah. But someone seen him, and he chased her down right to her bedroom. If she didn't see him, yeah, there's a good chance he was done. Then it would have been a targeted attack on just the two girls. He came in, he went directly to their room, and he probably would have left if nobody else seen him. Now, I agree with the guy on this. I agree with this doctor on it, or forensic guy. Yeah. After that, when he's walking out, I believe he did see uh, the other girl because she said she seen him eye to eye. But at that point, he knew he had to get the heck out of there. He already made a mistake going after the other two. Now, I could be wrong. And if I am, then I'm wrong. People get things wrong. This is my opinion on it. I don't think he had any intentions on doing anything sexual. That's just my opinion. Now, whether it was sexually rage or whatever, maybe he knew one of these girls, maybe they did something, whatever. I don't know. But I can tell you this much from what we're seeing at this channel, he wasn't there to have sex. That was the last thing on his mind. He was there to do something. Whether he was paid, whether this was just a random thing, whether it was over drugs, whether it was whatever, he was there to do one thing and one thing only. And that was eliminate somebody. Now, he might have had sexual thoughts in his mind, but I'm not seeing any evidence of anything sexual. Not one shirt lifted up, not one pants pulled down, shorts, nothing. He wasn't there for that. This would have been a totally different situation if it was sexual. Sexual takes time, like Richard Allen, like the Delphi case. He was going to rape them girls. He said it. He ran out of time. That takes time to have to undress, sex, all that, and then you're leaving evidence behind. You know, even if you wear a condom, like some of these geniuses, I'll wear a condom. Pubic hairs are DNA. As soon as you unzip your pants and your underwear, it's pubic hairs, DNA. You're leaving evidence behind. I don't think he was there for sex. He was there to do very bad, murderous stuff. You know? And he was out of there. And I agree with some of these other guys. He wasted too much time. He knew after he killed Xana and Ethan, he was there way too long. That's why he let the other one. And at that point, if he would have got away with this, the power in his head, he would have been a top serial killer. And I think he's killed before. My opinion, if he would have got away with this, oh, he would have went nuts. His ego would have went through the roof. He might have waited for a little while, but he would have killed again, definitely. Maybe even more. Maybe even more. My opinion. My thoughts. If they didn't get him now, he probably would have had bodies everywhere. I still think he's got bodies everywhere. They just haven't connected the dots. You know, one of my mods the other day they're saying that this was his first kill, and hard to believe, you know. And I'm saying I don't believe it. You know, he did all this for his first killing or whatever. So calm, so cool. Never said nothing, but he was there to help them in a soft voice. Even leaving, and the girl saying she looked right at him eye to eye as he walked through and went out the back door. He didn't say one word, nothing. Very calm, very collective. Didn't lose his cool. Didn't. I mean, he's. I think they got lucky when they got him. He might be wrapped up in other things. Now you have to remember, his friend was a military guy that he hung out with. A lot of people said there was two people: the military guy and Kohlberger. And that might be true. I don't know. My opinion, one guy could have done this very easily. In that time frame, yeah. All this other stuff, there was writings on the floor and writing. That takes time. That wasn't him. That was done afterwards. And the proof is in the camera. His fourth dry run, he parked. Lights were off in the whole house. He went in, and 12 minutes later, his car is on camera again. So all this stuff, these people, oh my God, he did. Well, then someone did that afterwards. He was very professional, very calm and cool. Very professional. And like I said, I think after the second couple he killed, he knew he was there way too much, way too long. And he had to get out of there. And that's why I think he let the other ones live too, like these guys are saying. He spent too much time in the house. He's out of there. Now, if you look at that other murder that happened not even an hour away from where Kohlberger lived, they also were attacked with a knife. Uh, Why they were sleeping, they woke up as they were being attacked. Similar MOs or whatever, I don't know. Possibly. Pretty crazy if you ask me. You know, pretty crazy.
This, every criminal defendant has a right to defense. But let me tell you, this guy, just days before, he was about to put the finger on other people, about to blame somebody else for what he savagely did. And I just, it's so hard to grasp. And I appreciate you coming on, Joseph, to make sense of what is truly a senseless act of violence against these 4 innocent individuals. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you.
Well, who was going to blame him? Or who was Kohlberger going to blame? You know? Are you telling me Kohlberger was going to blame someone for doing this? When it was Kohlberger or something? I don't know. That'd be crazy. But then again, we don't know all the information they have on this. We don't know. Most of it's hearsay. I have no idea if Ethan, I watched one channel, and that guy might be right, that he was decapitated and castrated. I don't know. That takes time. Well, I don't know. You want to stick around there to do stuff like that and get caught? It's very stupid. And from what we hear about Brian Kohlberger, he was a very smart man. So smart that in his mind, and he was smarter than the police, the FBI, and the government. He was right underneath their own nose. Now, my only thing is how did he get away with this? He was right underneath their nose for so long. I don't know. Maybe he was a hitman for the government. Maybe he was killing people within. Who knows? No one really knows. We know this much. He went in and he accomplished what he went in there to do. He didn't go in there to rape these girls or do anything other than take their lives. Why? I have no idea. None at all. For all we know, he was a junkie and needed a fix and did it for $500, $100, $50. A bag of crack. We don't know. People are saying, he was a maybe he was a tortured soul. Maybe people always made fun of him. After going through it for 30 years, it'll drive someone nuts. Make a cold son of a bitch out of somebody. And this stuff happens. Why? Well, we don't know why. All we know is it's real. And it happens. You abuse someone for so long and they get a set of gonads. What do? Kill everything in their sight. Why? Because they were abused and drove nuts. That's why. Yeah, wish I knew why, but it's true. America needs to face up to reality. You piss somebody off so long, and the next thing you know, they're on top of a tower taking people out. And you lying to your American citizens and your people and your country is a disgrace. You should be telling them we live amongst zoos, animals. That's all I got to say about that. I would like to thank this guy and his channel. I posted it in chat and in channel or in the description. Make sure you go check out their thing. Sexual, maybe in his mind, fantasy, maybe in the past, whatever. But this murder was done out of anger, hate, whatever it may be, discrimination, who knows. But sex was the last thing on that dude's mind or whoever did this. No, you folks have a good night. I'll be back with more content. I got to make some tea. And we'd appreciate it, government, if you can get rid of these witches, warlocks, trespassers, evil people around us. Possession is 9/10 of the law. And what am I seeing? I'm seeing demons run wild in your country. You lock them up when we say this dude's possessed with something. They're crazy. Lock them up. All right, go ahead. That ain't solving the problem. The problem is we live amongst demonic demons. You want to call it mental illness? The Lord says it's demonic demons. You figure it out. What a mess you've created on my earth. Well, the Lord's earth is just, I'm stuck on this piece of shit. You folks have a good night.